Yeah. So, welcome to week 9 of prayers and meditations by the Mother. And today we have the prayer of February 14, 1914. And this would be the last prayer for this batch of prayers and meditations course. And after that, we can choose whether we want to continue, who wants to continue, who wants not to continue. We can talk about that later. So, this would be the last prayer of this course. And I had requested Swapna to select one of the prayers from that book. If she has selected, we can take it up later towards the end of the session. So, as always, I would like to invite everyone to share their reflections one by one of going through the prayer, any insights, any resonate kind of anywhere that you resonated, anything that rings a bell through the prayer. One by one, we can unmute and share.
I'll go, Monica. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. When I read this prayer, I feel somewhat it is very direct actually. Peace upon all the earth. May all escape from the ordinary consciousness and be delivered from the attachment for material things. Yes. These are all the prayer we can really address in our prayers also to divine, towards divine. I feel like that actually. And even up to these lines, Lord, thou art the sovereign master of our being, thy law is our law, and with all our strength, we aspire to identify our consciousness with thy eternal consciousness. This all seems to be a prayer. But where mother comes, no, in the third para, grant that we may henceforth see only with thy eyes and act only by thy will. There I found really, yeah, this requires that inner journey, and you have to find your inner truth. Then only we can see through with thy eyes and act by thy will. Without that, we cannot do that, no? So that I felt actually after all these lines seem to be very important for me. Grant that we may henceforth see only with thy eyes and act only by thy will. Only after you get that state, actually, maybe previous lines also become meaningful. I felt like that, and transform us into living torches of thy divine love. That also possible only after we realize our inner truth. Yes. And also in the last para also, with reverence, with devotion, and with joyful consecration. This also mother brought in order, I feel actually. Reverence is some respect, and then comes the devotion, and then comes the surrender. So joyful consecration. So this is the thing I got from this prayer. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Chitraji. Yes. Yeah. Beautiful.
For me, basically the collective nature in which mother says the prayer struck me hard, that it's for all. Peace upon earth, all the earth, and may all escape from the ordinary consciousness. It's a collective prayer for everybody, all of us. Not, it was not something where you say, may I escape and may I be. No. Everywhere it is, all escape and be in thy divine presence. So that was striking. And of course, if we have to identify our consciousness with the eternal consciousness, we have to completely aspire with our entire being. And only then will we be able to achieve what is in the third para and the fourth. That's what struck me basically. We are all striving for that, but it's far away.
Yeah. Thank you, Jyotsna ji. Yes. So, Gurpreet ji, yes.
Yeah, Monica, actually, after going through the prayer, I found it very, very powerful and full of energy, that very strong energy I could sense, because as Jyotsna ji shared, it's a collective prayer. And I could sense a very strong and powerful aspiration and prayer for the whole of mankind, actually. And where she's talking of that beautiful state, where she wants everyone to be delivered out of darkness and collaborate with the divine and feel the everlasting peace. And the lines which struck me, second para, where she says, "Thou art the sovereign master of our being, thy law is our law, and with all our strength we aspire." As if here, what sense I could get was it's like giving yourself up completely. Even if there exists something beyond total surrender, I could feel that, कि, there's no longer the question of just surrender, even if there's something beyond that. I mean, nothing exists for me except this divine or the eternal consciousness, thinking of abhi to hum, we use our mind, we have to go about this way or that, but she talks of a state where nothing else exists. So this was really, which struck me. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Yes, it is the direct way. Very true. Very true. Yeah. Bypasses, all the entanglements here and there on the left and right. Absolutely. Yes. Swapna, would you like to share right now, or would you just listen? I heard that you are at work, so you can just type it in the chat window if not possible to.
Hi, Monica. Just
Yeah.
briefly, I am at work, and so mostly I will be listening. And I don't know on my phone how to even do the chat. I tried to figure it out, but I don't know how
Okay.
that
Doesn't
works.
matter. Doesn't
But
matter.
I'm listening, and if I can say something, I will.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. Great. So, yeah, let's go through the prayer again. As Gurpreet ji also shared, all of us already have been through so many prayers, and this one thing is very straightforward in mother's prayer, that mother is not wanting anything else but the divine. We have a confusion. We have to kind of detach ourselves from all the material people that we want, you know things that we want in life, situations that we want our way. But she is very sure, this certitude is there, that I don't want anything else but to identify with thy consciousness. That is the only worthy task capable of our time, giving our time to in this human life. And this not at all only for the mother, but that is the reason why human birth has been called a very precious birth, because this identification with the divine consciousness is not possible in any other life but human life. This expansion and widening and heightening and deepening of consciousness, that is the task for all of us. If we ask, what is the purpose of my life, this is the purpose of my life. That no matter whatever ups and downs I go through in my life, the only task that I have at hand is widening and growth and expansion of my consciousness forever. And it is a lifelong, it is a continuing journey. Why? Because we can never reach the divine. There would be always more to do, there would be always more veils to be shed, ignorance to be shed. So this is the beauty of this path, that mother is very, very sure through all her prayers that this is all we want. And this is, I think, we also need to reflect in our individual day-to-day life. Sri Aurobindo also shares in Letters on Yoga that for the sadhak on the path, if ordinary entanglements continue, then it even becomes a greater suffering. Why? Because on one hand, I want to do yoga, union with the divine consciousness. And on the other hand, I still want the trifles and trivia of my life. So that creates a very big disorder in a sadhak's life. One has to go through even intense suffering. And that some of us may have experienced this, that on one hand, I want nothing but the divine, but I also want my child or my spouse or my partner to behave in such and such manner. So this becomes a problem, this becomes an issue. It's like, riding on two boats at the same time in a sea. It's not possible. It would be very difficult for us and discomforting for us. So we have to be sure what we want in our life, and for that we have to give any price that we have to give. Any price. No price is a bigger price. Everything is a cheap bargain, whether it's relationships, going over, leaving the older ones, going to newer ones, leaving the older ways of relationships, whether it is, completely cutting off. Many a times it is required, cutting off from certain family members. I personally have gone through such experiences in my life, that somehow you just cannot be there at the same time. So all this is required on the path of yoga only for those of us who want this union, who want to walk on this path, who still are comfortable, who still are okay with the ordinary material consciousness. Then it's okay. They can be there as long as they are okay there. But the moment they start to kind of receive a call towards something more and greater, then they will also have to leave the older ways. Yeah. So this is one thing which is very peculiar about all the prayers, that she knows what she wants. Do we know what we want? We can ask this question: do I know what is most important for me? And then it gives us a lot of clarity. What I truly want is this, and hence all the price is okay to be paid. Yeah. So February 14, 1914, and please unmute at any point of time. It's okay to, just unmute at any point of time. Don't think that you'll be disturbing the flow or anything. I'll catch up the threads again from wherever I leave. Peace, peace upon all earth. We also have this Shanti mantra, yeah, but we are rarely there. We are so occupied in our own entanglements, our own thoughts. We are so occupied. Who has the time? I think those are blessed if they have the time, and if they give this priority, that okay, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or whenever I remember, I just want this. I just chant this, peace, peace upon all earth. I think it takes a lot of depth in the being to actually not only say these words, but actually from to mean them as well. It takes a lot of depth in the being. It takes a lot of intensity in the being for you to really speak this prayer out or say it out in our inward being, and also to mean this prayer. Why? Because ordinary level of consciousness is completely occupied with their own entanglements. I don't have time, so that I should bother whether it is peace on earth or non-peace on earth. I just bother about my own life. Yeah, this is how we live. So if one has gone through all those experiences, and one sees the pain that earth is going through, one sees the intensity of the pain, then this prayer takes meaning and shape in our inward journey. No matter whether people know about it or no, I just know, I just feel like praying this within me. Peace, peace upon all the earth.
Yeah, Monica, that calling peace is very important as an individual sadhana also, no, actually.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, Shirbindo insists upon that. I read in one of the article, when Kabali Shastri, one of the sadhak, first when he asked Shirbindo about this, of course, that Kabali Shastri, he practiced all the, the Sri Vidya Upasaka he is. But anyhow, he asked Shirbindo about the sadhana. Shirbindo told him, it seems that peace is just lingering above your head. You just call the peace like a friend. Peace, peace, peace. Yeah. That is the first suggestion given to Kapali Shastri by Shirbindo. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think in day-to-day affairs, if we inculcate this habit of calling peace, not only for us adults, also if we have children at home or other people who are receptive enough, I think it's very, very powerful. I see the effect of it immediately, whenever. So I sleep with my, both the kids are sleeping next to me usually. And since I've been lucky to get to know about this calling peace thing, I also kind of have developed this habit that before sleeping we will call peace in the body, and we will become like a towel on the bed. We will not move at all. And it's really amazing that in the beginning, obviously when we start anything in the beginning, it's hard because one does not really know, get a hang of it, how it is to be done. But since children are so receptive, and they, especially to the mother or father, they are ready to listen usually. So, and now, even without me pressing their body at all, the moment I say, okay, let us bring peace in the body, and puri body ko still karate hain, and let us be like towel, no moving at all, remembering the mother. And it actually works, in 2 3 4 minutes at max, they both are just kind of, happily sleeping after that, and no restlessness, no nervousness in the body. So it's actually very, very powerful. It's, I think it's very underestimated, the power of peace usually, because it appears so easy. Shanti to hai, what we have really been running after, things and people and material in life. So shanti actually appears very underestimated, but it has a lot of power, absolutely, with you. Yeah. And this can be the basis of a new life. This can be basis of an unfoldment of a newer kind of life, a life divine. Yes. So peace upon all the earth. And then mother in the next line says, may all escape from the ordinary consciousness and be delivered from the attachment from material things. Now in the next line, in the line below peace, mother is sharing the cause of non-peace. The cause of non-peace is ordinary consciousness. How obvious? How obvious is that? First mother says, this is what I pray, peace upon all earth. And in the next line she says, actually, that just the cause of our non-peace, our restlessness in the being, ordinary consciousness, is our disease. We have no other disease in life. This is our disease, which has become actually normal for us human beings. We say, okay, this is normal. To celebrate like this and to gossip like this is normal. Sab karte hain. This is our disease. And it is so widespread. This disease is so widespread that we don't even realize that we are diseased. If everywhere there are only blind people, I would say, I would think that I am normal. Because if I am blind, then I am normal, because everywhere there are only blind people. But this is our disease actually, because it is the creator of conflicts, to poke into affairs of each other's, to always keep ourselves entangled in relationships or in matters which are not really our matters. We rarely mind our business. All that is ordinary consciousness. Excessive focus on other people. May all escape, mother is saying. It's like an escape is needed from this state of disease. May all escape from the ordinary consciousness and be delivered from the attachments for material things. This is the kind of linked cause. Those of us, for us, whenever I am in ordinary consciousness, definitely there would be attachment to either things, situations, or people in my life. It is not possible that I am not attached. The biggest attachment which I escape, which is kind of is my blind spot, is the attachment to my own self, me and my story. This is the biggest attachment, and it totally obscures our vision. Totally, like a veil of Maya, it obscures our vision, and we are not even aware that this can be an attachment to our own self obsession. Me, my story, my relative, my family, my kids, my stuff, my. This is the, this is the biggest termite that eats our life up slowly. So this is why turning to the divine comes as a respite and not only as a respite, but only worthy thing to be done in this life. And mother is saying that may all be delivered from this attachment to material things. And when mother says material things, include everything there. Include your own self, include people around you, include your likings, preferences, everything included in manifestation. Everything, all the mental opinions, rigidities, ideas in my head, they are all material things. Mind is matter, thought is matter. So all the emotions that I am attached to, all the moods that I am attached to, all the patterns of thoughts that I am attached to, my stories in the head that I am attached to, all that is an attachment and the cause of misery and the cause of maintaining me in a ordinary consciousness. So this is what is the prayer of mother. She's saying may all be delivered from all this entanglement. And this prayer can come only from those of us intensely who have actually tasted the ordinary consciousness, and then they have also tasted the lightness of being with the divine. Then I say, oh, if I can do that, then it must be possible for each one of us. So why not pray that all of us are rid of these entanglements and attachments? Yeah, this is how it comes. May they awake to the knowledge of thy divine presence. Now, when mother says to the knowledge of thy divine presence, what does it mean? Knowledge of divine presence. What does it mean to you? What does it mean? I'm just kind of curious to know what it means to you, all of you. May they awake to the knowledge. Masters have said that we are sleeping, although we are awake in our senses, but we are sleeping. That is what they have said, all the masters.
That inner truth, Monica, that inner truth, if you,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, Monica, I think it means, that that faith and trust,
Yeah.
complete faith and trust without any question. No logic, nothing.
Mm,
That is the knowledge of, that is feeling and always dwelling in the divine presence, I feel.
mm, mm. Ah, beautiful. Anyone? Anyone else?
Hi, Monica.
Yes, Swapna.
I managed to take my lunch break now so that I could participate a bit.
That's good.
I noticed when my mind with that knowledge of the divine as how it applies to my life right now and has been like since yesterday, I guess, this morning, is how can I look at my current life challenges and the relationships that are a bit difficult around me with that viewpoint of how mother would see it.
Mm-hmm.
How I know intellectually, to look upon those people, their actions, the circumstances with benevolence, with wisdom, with all understanding, all the qualities that I know are of the divine as in my kind of deepest or greatest, widest notion of the divine. And then how can I even begin to really authentically look at the people and all these challenges with that light?
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Yes, Jyotsna ji.
Basically, to be able to fuse with the divine consciousness completely and not have an eye left.
Mm.
That's that much.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me to perceive something else, no. This has to be the ultimate, and if we can reach there, that's it, final.
Yeah.
Monica,
Yeah. This.
could it also mean feeling that divinity inside by, uh, by doing the work, by transforming your own self and leading yourself towards the truth, becoming, more, I mean, taking more of those attributes of the divine, because ultimately that's what we are supposed to do, go closer to a truth, become more divine like. So, that is what I feel,
Yeah. Okay.
that whole transformation thing. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. It can be obviously divine is infinite, and we can talk about it in innumerable number of ways. The same line can be interpreted in innumerable number of ways, and they will all be fine, as much as whatever resonates with your being is completely okay. Yeah, whatever elevates you, whatever uplifts you, completely fine, that is divine. But for practical day to day existence, this is how I would see it for myself, just sharing my own kind of interpretation of this. जब whenever somebody passes away, what do we say? अब इनको परम शांति मिलेगी, हाँ? परम शांति. Yeah. So this is one another name for the divine. That divine is shanti, absolute stillness and peace, absolute calm. That is divine. That is another name for the divine. Yeah. So can we be aware then that in the middle of all my emotional conflicts, all my mental unresolved thoughts, all my stories incompleted, can I be awake to this knowledge that peace, calm, quietude is available to me right now in the middle of everything unresolved? How is it available? I just have to reject anything that is disturbing me. Reject, reject, reject. Let nothing move you. And it can be done in the middle. It should be done. One must be actually able to do it in the middle of outer chaos. That is what is meditation. That is what we call as sthit pragya. You are not moving. You are one with the immovable. Now, peace does not move. Stillness does not move. So yes, on the outer, everything is moving. The whole world may be going upside down. Something in you is one with the immovable within you, and which is peace, calm, and quietude. That must not move. That cannot move at all. So can I be awake to this knowledge that what does a desire say? What does a emotional conflict say? It says that once this is resolved, I will get peace. So it promises me peace in the future. It promises me shanti in the future. It promises me beauty and divine in the future. While my stubbornness is no, 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 not in the future, right here, right now. I don't have much time. So this is what mother, I believe, for day to day life, it can be also seen like this, that in the middle of all the seeming chaos, I have access to peace if I want it. If that is my only priority, that should be sure. As Gurpreet ji was initially sharing, that all that mother wants is oneness with the divine. So all that I want is, I actually have to reaffirm in the being. All that I crave for is to be calm, quiet, and peaceful. And then you will see that in the middle of all the conflicts going on, you have the access to it. This is what we can be saying. Another layer of interpretation to it, the knowledge of thy divine presence. That divine presence of peace is by default present in the background 24/7. No desire needs to be followed when it says आगे जाके मिलेगा. Once this relationship is fixed, only then peace will be gotten. It is just a mirage. Do not follow that mirage. Have peace right now and take an action or take any decision that you have to take from that inherent peace. This is the knowledge of thy divine presence, which we are usually unaware of. Because whenever we are conflicted with desires and mental conflicts, what is the promise? The promise is when the external thing will be changing, only then I will be okay. Now I cannot be okay. So this is the promise that mother is sharing, that I can be okay right now in the middle of all the havoc. This is the knowledge of thy divine presence. And then nothing can keep me away from the divine, because that is my only priority. Peace is my only priority. Quietness, inner poise is my only priority. Yeah. Awake to the knowledge of thy divine presence, unite themselves with thy supreme consciousness, and taste the plenitude of peace. That, oh, peace also comes here, in this, the last line, plenitude of peace that springs from it. So once I am sure, once I have almost gotten wedded to this peace in me, I am not going to leave its side. I'm not going to leave. It's like a stubbornness. I have gotten this wedding vows with my peace. And I am saying that no matter दुनिया ऊपर की नीचे हो जाए, अब मैं जो काम करूंगी वो इसी स्टेट से करूंगी. All the work will be done from this inherent peace within. That nothing can be shaken, where nothing can be shaken. This is how we identify with mother's consciousness. And whenever we are working from that inherent peace or poise, we see that we actually are able to take decisions which are beneficial, which are in welfare of other people and for myself, which are not coming out of, this tendencies or patterns or reactions, which are in welfare, have a larger vision. And whenever we talk of divine or mother's vision, we talk of a larger vision. She looks at a larger vision. So whenever I am able to work from that witnessing Sakshi Bhav or a peace within, I will see that I will actually be able to take decisions which otherwise for the ordinary human consciousness, which I had, would appear very not takeable. As if I can't take it. I become weak in my knees, I become emotionally weak, mentally weak. That would not happen. So this is the power of uniting with the inner peace. Hmm? So peace also has power, just like consciousness has force. Chit Shakti, that is what we say now. Consciousness, force. Chit Shakti. The light of consciousness has a power. Whenever we enter this witnessing Sakshi Bhav, it has a lot of power. It's not as uh, rigorous and restless as the mind. It's not an activity of the mind, but the power is there beyond the mind. So I will take all the actions which will be necessary, which needs to be taken from that Sakshi Bhav, which is right and in welfare of all of us. Yeah. And this is where mother says that I can taste, I'll be able to taste the plenitude of peace that springs from it. Because here I am not saying that meri baat maan lo, you listen to me only, I am right. I am saying, okay, let that be done which is in welfare of everyone. So there is no conflict, there is no entanglement there. There is no selfish motive hidden behind that. Yeah. Lord, thou art the sovereign master of our being. Now, do we know that? Lord may be the master of my being, but if I am not aware, it doesn't matter to me. होगा किसी और के लिए होगा, but मेरे लिए नहीं है. So right now, the master of my being, who is it? Is it the ego or is it the Lord? We cannot be in the grays. In one moment, it would be either ego or the Lord or the truth or peace. Name anything. Yeah. And in the other moment, I can slip again. And the Lord can be again the falsehood. Yeah. So this is again something which is good to reflect upon. Who is the master of my being? Is ego and tendency master of my being, or is truth, as you guys were saying, is truth, is peace, is equanimity, is discernment the master of my being? Both cannot be at the same time. Thy law is our law, and with all our strength we aspire to identify our consciousness with thy eternal consciousness. Now this is, who is saying this? That human being is saying this who is now consciously becoming a slave of truth. What is it saying? Thy law is our law. Only that being can say that. Otherwise, ego has its own laws. Who cares for the laws of truth? Yeah. So, but here a conscious decision has already been taken. A conscious decision of being a das or a slave to truth, no matter, even if I may come in between, I will not, bother to take off my head and give it away. So this is what Kabir ji also says, that Kabir Kutta Ram ka motiyan mera naam. He says that I am as loyal to truth as a god to the master, a dog to his master, as loyal as that. And as if there is a leash on my neck, wherever I am pulled by truth, I go. Only truth matters, nothing else matters. So this is where the central surrender has been done. And now this is the detailed surrender that is happening. Thy law is our law. And with all our strength, we aspire to identify our consciousness with thy eternal consciousness. This is the path of all of us human beings to ever continue to progress on this union with the eternal, which although can never be full and total, but the path itself is so beautiful that it is just a worthy path. No other path is as worthy as this one. Continue progressing, continue moving towards beauty, perfection, and truth, removing all the little falsehoods in our life. And there are so many falsehoods that even if we take an electron microscope, it would be falling short. Actually, there's so many falsehoods in the being. So a lifetime is not enough. That's why the journey is on all the time, that we may accomplish thy sublime work in each thing at every moment. This is our work. When we talk of human beings, what is the purpose of human existence? The purpose of human existence is to remove slowly, gradually, all the falsehood that is there. And that is why we have this light of knowing, the light of judgment and discernment. If we see something bad is happening, it eats us up. We cannot tolerate that happening. So this light of knowing that is given to us, this light of discernment that is given to us, we have to first of all begin the work within ourselves, very very clearly seeing all that is ugly in me, and slowly, silently, just working in transforming that ugliness to beauty. Very silent work, does not require much blah blah blah. Yeah, very very silent work. The moment I notice, oh, this was ugly movement, I don't want this again in my being, immediately be aware of it, be vigilant of it, offer it to the mother. Mother, this is again propping up, I don't want to follow this movement. So this is the microscopic task that we have to do, from ugliness to beauty, and from crudeness to perfection. This is our task. And on this task, we will face many, 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 many innumerable failures. But these are just part and parcel of the game. We don't have to go in shame or guilt that why is this happening with me after so many years of sadhana, because this is the path. How can you avoid that challenge? This is the path. The path is from ugliness to beauty. So how can you avoid ugliness? Yeah, how can I avoid ugliness, or why should I be shameful about the ugliness? Mother says that whenever you notice any obstruction, obscurity in the being, just notice it. Do not delve too much in the shame and guilt domain. Notice and correct it. Move on. That kind of a shamelessness is required. Noticed, corrected, move on. Noticed, corrected, move on. Forever. This is the sublime work. When mother talks of sublime work, so that we may accomplish thy sublime work in each thing at every moment. We have so many different relationships in our life, relationships with things, with work, with our own self, with people. At all these domains, in all these fields, a lot of work is to be done for further refinement and perfection. Let us all concentrate that, okay, this today was not up to the mark. Next time, let me be better. So there is so much to do. Where is the time to, poke our nose in each other's affairs? There's hardly any time. And even when I am poking my nose in each other's affairs, I see that it is ugly and I don't want it in my life. It does not do anyone good. So may Lord stop me from poking the nose again. And the moment I poke the nose again, stop me. Offer it to the mother. Mother, I'm doing this again. This is how we do it at every moment in everything. Yeah. Lord, yes.
Monica,
Yes, Swapna. Yeah.
can I pose a question about what you just said? It was where my mind went to is I get the ugliness of poking one's nose into others. And what if it's a situation where it requires then, like, I don't know, where there's some form of abuse or racism or um, yeah, just something. How does one not end up being like a doormat that does nothing and just receiving crap? Excuse me for that word, but yeah, you know, in the name of doing this, not wanting to get ugly about it, and yet how to, I guess, in a way, beautifully stand up for oneself, or not be willing to just
Yeah.
deal with treatment. Yeah, that's ill
Yeah,
treatment.
absolutely. Yes. So staying with Lord's consciousness, staying with Mother's consciousness or peace does not mean that the right action will not be taken. It does not mean going numb. It is not a sign of dumbness. It is just a sign of that all the places that I was scattering my consciousness, I will be now using it very, very carefully where all it is needed. And Swapna, I would say it would be very, very context based. And obviously, it does not mean that all the abuse is allowed and I would just be staying silent. You know, silence does not mean a thing that, you know, I will not be taking stand for myself. Obviously, wherever a stand is required, one has to actually communicate to whoever is the abuser, you know, or wherever one feels that the abuse is coming from. It has to be communicated. It has to be communicated. And that is why we have a mouth. You know, usually we use the mouth for wrong reasons, but I think this is a very worthy reason, that on the name of being with Mother's presence, or in the name of being quiet and silent within the being, it does not mean that you do not take a stand for yourself. But how to do it, what is the best way, that is very contextual, very, very contextual. At times silence works, at times shouting works. Whenever it is required, shouting may be required, anger, you know, a kind of a shallow anger may be required. But that would be totally context based. And I think a person who is staying with the mother, or in inner poise, will actually be guided as to what is the right action in this kind of a moment. So one listens to the inner guidance. There's no one formula here. Yeah. And then if one fails, one fails. Then one, imagine that you thought that you were working through Mother's consciousness, but it was your own ego which is working. Yeah, it may happen. That is the worst possible that may happen. So be prepared for that. Be responsible that, okay, I saw, kind of said it or acted in a way which I should not have acted. So it will just be another failure, but it also will be another learning for me, that I was getting this feeling that I was not fully there. You know, I was just operating from the ego. So the failure or the mistake will also become a point of learning. So there is a win-win situation, I believe. You know, if the Mother's consciousness is acted out, win. If your ego is acted out, later on you realize that it was the ego acting out. So win-win. Yeah.
It's interesting because you mentioned also anger, you know, the superficial level. I think that's the word you used, you know, because I guess in my mind, I always imagine, oh, if I'm speaking from a place where like, you know, where the mother would want me to speak, I would always be very peaceful, may have a force behind it. But, you know, it's like this image. And when I think anger, then I always think, okay, of me really in the vitals power, the ego's power, you know. But
Yeah.
I wonder if you can say more of how do you perceive there can be, if anger is necessary in a certain context, of how
Look,
that can be done.
yeah, at
Yeah.
this moment, Swapna, I would say that my task is to master the anger and not to go with the anger, because it would be too early. For example, Sri Aurobindo or Mother, you know, they can use anger at their will and they can be just get done with it. But our consciousness is not that clarified yet. You know, there is a lot of clarification that still is needed. So I would say that we have to actually save ourselves from all the movements of the vital, and anger is a movement of the ego or the vital. So at our consciousness, we have to be very, very careful, because in the name of Mother's consciousness I may use the anger, but it would be just ego operating. So you know, it's a very tricky place, I would say. Yeah.
There have been instances, Monica,
Yeah.
where I have found that when I have had to stand up in front of someone for something, I could establish a surface anger, maintaining absolute tranquility inside. And I found that I was not worked up. I was not charged, but I appeared charged. And I appeared, and the sort of the tables turned, because it appeared like that. But I think within we are able to, if we are conscious, we are able to bring about retain, rather, a certain calmness
Yeah.
within us.
Yeah. Yeah.
The possibility, like, a small instance, you want to make a child understand something, and he just doesn't want to understand at all, and you show a slight surface anger that, no, by your voice or something, that this is not done.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And you're not angry, you're at peace within, you're calm inside, but you exhibit that. It works.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Yes, and only I would know, Swapna, as Jyotsna ji was sharing, only you would know whether that anger was a surface anger. We cannot tell it for you, for example. Yeah, nobody can tell you. But you would know whether that was just anger, which was just, kind of, as Jyotsna ji shared this example, that if you want the child for his own good to do something, and you need to raise a voice in certain manner, you know that it is for child's good that you did, and it was not coming out of a egoistic space. So that only you can know. So hit and trial, that is how it would work, because after the moment is over, and even while the moment is going on, something in you would for sure know whether it is touching your deepest core, or whether it is not touching. As Josna ji shared, it is keeping you calm within, but on the surface you have to show, because you have to take the stand. Yeah, so at times it may be actually be necessary. And I think I've read somewhere, maybe in the works of Mother, that anger is actually a force which can be used, anger, or this aggression, to collect resources. For example, if I take a stand, then I am given something which belongs to me. Yeah, so this collection of resources, if I do not take a stand for myself, if I do not even raise my voice, that no, this is my right and I must be given this. Yeah, so the resources do not come to me. So we can use it very tactfully also, for the path of truth. It can be used. Yeah, but since it is a very tricky domain, so I better not say much about it. It's for all of us to know. We all have an inner knowing, where we know whether we are going right or wrong. We must trust that knowing. Yeah. Yes. So then Mother says, Lord, deliver us from all care for contingencies. Deliver us from all the ordinary outlook on things, all the care of little things. We are so bothered many a times, ye khana kahan se milega, wo kahan se aayega, ye kahan se aayega. Even a beggar on the street is fed. He gets a meal. Even a stray dog gets a meal. Somebody feeds him. So how would I not be taken care of? Where is this self obsession coming from? So that's what Mother is sharing, that deliver us, just get rid. It is so entangling to be always thinking about obsession, almost like an obsession, thinking about whether I will be looked after, whether I would have enough, or whether I'll be okay in this space or that physical space. This is just too much. It just drains our energies too much. Deliver us from the ordinary outlook on things, and when we are inner poised, then the ordinary outlook is not there. When then we have an expanded outlook. Grant that we may henceforth see only with thy eyes. How to see only with thy eyes? How is that possible? What am I missing? This is very important. Grant that we may henceforth see only with thy eyes, and act only by thy will. This all our journey sadhana of microscopically looking at our movements, this kind of is used here, that I am aware of each and every manipulation in my act and speech and thought, and hence I know that this is not coming from manipulation. just because I'm aware of the movements now. And yet, even now, I am ready to know that whether this was some manipulation or whether this was coming of truth. How would I get to know? Mother says, nothing in you should move up and down. So if you are actually taking up a stand for truth, and maybe your word is not heard, so much of certitude should be there that nothing should move. If it is the divine will, then it must show up in any other way, if not this way. So that kind of a certitude must be there. And when we are just concerned by of our selfish desires and needs and our own entanglements, when we are only concerned with that, then we are moved and swayed away very easily. This is a little signal that we can use, that the moment somebody does not listen to me, I'm just swayed away. I feel, how dare he disrespect me, for example. So then it means that I am only motivated by the ego. But if I'm now to see only with thy eyes are benevolent, they are full of compassion, they also have a lot of clarity, and they can see falsehood very, very clearly, but they also are compassionate eyes. So all these qualities we can remember then, the qualities of compassion, love, acceptance, but also no acceptance for falsehood. So yes, taking a stand, yes, taking a very, very clear stand, but also very open to all the possibilities also, both at the same time. Highly vulnerable, but with a sharp eye. This is what one can say, just one way of seeing it. Henceforth, see only with thy eyes, which want only the benefit of all. Do my eyes want the benefit of all, or do I just want my own desires to be fulfilled? What is the demand in me? Yeah. And then it'll be very clear for me that half of the steps that I was going to take, they are not even required, because they're all just serving my desires. They're not serving the truth. So I can actually stop and not take that way. Yeah. And act only by thy will. Transform us into living torches of thy divine love. Now, Mother says, love is the only power which is transformative in nature. When the divine love was sent, when the story of creation Mother talks of that, to convert darkness to light, to convert suffering to bliss, what was sent? The divine love. Divine came in the manifestation of love. This light of consciousness that we are granted, the light of seeing my own movements, this is the power of love. When I am standing with myself, looking at all movements of my being, this looking is the light of consciousness and hence divine love. In that looking, everything that needs to be transformed will be transformed sooner or later. My task is to keep looking, to keep looking. Imagine that a mother is there and a stubborn child is there. A child is there, usually children are stubborn. I think it's for good that they are stubborn. But that's another big thing that I can go into discussion. Yeah, so a mother is there, she's looking at the child is doing all kind of playthings and activities and tantrums, and the child repeats one kind of a behavior again and again, again and again, and the child knows that it is not a good behavior. Now the mother may not say anything actually, but the child is looking at the mother and the mother is looking at the child. Just by the looking of the mother, just by that look of the mother, that I am watching you, not a kind of a judgmental look like I will thrash you or something like that. I'm just looking at you. I'm just looking at you. That child, if he's sensitive enough, open enough, after 2 3 4 times of doing the same wrong thing again, he will actually stop, and he would know that the mother's eyes are conveying something. So this is the look of the witness Purusha. It just keeps on looking very, very benevolently, very compassionately. It is not aggressive in nature. It just looks. And that is where Mother shares that whenever you sleep, for example, you take your life and Go over the day like a screen is moving. Just look. And in that looking, you will be shown what was to be done and what was not to be done. This is the power of love. It transforms. Did not say anything, did not actively do anything, but the work got done. And this is the power given to us human beings, the ability to look at our own movements and also the, the intentions of other people around us. This ability, we must use this ability. Yeah. Living torches of thy divine love, with reverence, with a lot of respect, as if you look up to somebody who is worthy of respect. This is reverence. With reverence, and then comes, as Chitraji was sharing in the beginning, then intenser phase would be devotion. Now I am devoted to what I was revering earlier. I just live my life in that devotion, with reverence, with devotion, and in a joyful consecration. And I know now that nothing is worthy of living but you, the truth, peace, sanity, beauty, all that is divine. In a joyful consecration of my whole being, I give myself. Usually we ask things from the divine. Give me this, give me that, that person should be fine, that person should be fine, my body should be fine, my emotion should be fine. We are always found asking. This is a giving. That now I know that the only path worthy of walking is your path, and hence I give myself, I offer myself to you, O Lord, to the fulfillment of thy law. Unconditional giving. Unconditional giving. Okay, mother in other prayers, she shares that if you want me in mud and drain, I will be okay with the mud and drain, because I know that you are sent me there for a purpose. Yeah, so I have that much of certitude that you would not keep me in mud and drain if I'm not required there. So when mother talks of this, her work in the inconscience, in the depths of inconscience, the darkness where she's sent again and again, then mother shares this, that if you want me here, I know with certitude that there is a task to be done, and I'm okay being there. It's not a very pleasant state, but I'm okay being there because I know some work is to be done. And our darkness is our challenges, our tendencies, our conflicts. Those are our dark spaces where we need to do the work. Yeah, where we need to bring this clarity that everything belongs to the divine and must be offered again and again to the divine. O Lord, to the fulfillment of thy law, the law of truth, the law of harmony, the law of beauty, the law of love. It's all divine love, divine law. Peace, peace upon all earth, all the earth. This is how peace will dawn. Remaining in an ordinary consciousness, entangled, attached, peace cannot be have. Peace cannot, even although it is 24/7 with me, but I cannot have access to it, because all I want is the fulfillment through attachments, through desires. And that is never going to happen. Yeah. And hence I have to tap into peace first, and then offer my whole being, my whole life to the law of truth, to the law of harmony and beauty and increasing progress. Then peace can prevail in the being. Yeah? Earth is my own prakriti. Earth also means my own prakriti, my movements, my body, my mental domain, my physical domain, my vital domain. That is all earth. That is matter. How can peace be there? When I move away from the ordinary consciousness. Yeah. So we have no choice actually. If we really want peace, the only path is this. There is no other path. Else I'm okay with the non-peace. Yeah. And nobody can be okay with the non-peace, unfortunately or fortunately, because that is not our true nature. That is not our swabhav. Non-peace is not our swabhav. That is why we don't like being restless. Yeah. So anything, anyone?
I think it tantamounts to just repeatedly telling ourselves to peace, peace, and peace. And some little iota will start to come into us. and manifest. That is, I think, the only way we can make a beginning.
Yes, beautiful. Yes.
And I want to share some lines from Life Divine. Actually, very rarely I will read. Last week I read a chapter about the eternal and the individual. So these same type, I mean, same meaningful lines, it appealed to me a lot. I wrote it down in a notebook actually. When you sent the prayer, same prayer, really I thought how it coincided. I will read those lines. It is from page number 371, Life Divine. But we have the peace and rest by virtue of our unity with Him, even as the divine possesses forever His eternal calm in the midst of His eternal action. And also some other lines also I will read. Certainly, we may prefer the absorption in a pure exclusive unity or a departure into a supracosmic transcendence. But there is, in the spiritual truth of the divine existence, no compelling reason why we should not participate in this large possession and bliss of His universal being. That is the torch, no, which is the fulfillment of our individuality. Same meaning, this prayer.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Fulfillment of our individuality. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not to unite with the divine exclusively, but take it forward, no? The
Take it forward.
same line. That is the meaning, no, Monica?
Yes.
Why correctly, no? Yeah.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Why we should not participate in this large possession and bliss of His universal being, which is the fulfillment of our individuality. Okay.
Yeah, beautiful. Yes. Yes, Swapna.
I've noticed, like, I was before these last lines from the Life Divine, I was just noticing, like, I'm faced, like, later today, I'm actually meeting somebody, and that's where my earlier question had come from, because it feels like there's something like an important conversation or communication that can happen. And now just hearing those lines of, the fulfillment of our individuality in for me, I'm noticing it's like, okay, my mind wants to either worry about or prepare for this conversation. Yet what seems a deeper truth in line with the prayer and these Life Divine lines is to just approach it as quietly as possible with as much stillness and peace, leave it to her, and then just let it unfold. Like, no preparation, just let the words come being anchored in that
Beautiful.
peace,
Yes,
because that's the fulfillment.
absolutely.
That's it's like training the body and mind to enjoy the sensation of what peace really is versus the body sensations of ego vital that wants to make a point or feels as fairness or something, some kind of I guess a
Absolutely.
bartering.
Yes, yes, absolutely, Swapna.
Beautiful. Now I understood very
Yeah,
clearly. Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
I was reading something from the mother and Sri Aurobindo, and their mother talks about the formation of thoughts. She talks about how we continuously are imagining things about people, about situations. So that's what Swapna I shared in the morning in an audio message with you. That, for example, if I'm now going to have this interaction, and one may have by default some negative visualizations that what may happen. So mother shares that in order to actually usefully use the tool of imagination, what you can do is that imagine that you are going for this interaction with somebody. Just imagine, or sit for a while, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, in your silence, and imagine the whole conversation, in the sense, not in details. If you want, you can go in details, but just that everyone is extremely fulfilled, and the true point has been made, and everyone is just going forward, understanding each other in harmony. And mother says that imagine the whole scenario, whatever you want to imagine, and then after the imagination you just give it to the divine and forget about it, as you were sharing, that let it unfold. So you have used your power of imagination, which you were actually using earlier also in negative imagination. So now you use this in a positive manner, that everyone goes fulfilled after the interaction, and it is a worthy interaction. Everyone feels widened, expanded, whatever, empowered. And now you offer the whole visualization to the divine and forget about it, and see how it unfolds then. That would be a beautiful experiment you could do. For example, the case that you are sharing. And usually we are just using our thoughts in a negative manner, that worst possible may happen, I will not be taken care of, and people would not understand me. So mother says that reverse this and use the tool of thought that has been given to you in a rightful manner for truth. So this could also be, I think, become a day part of day to day life. We can use that. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thank you, Monica. That's really clear. That
Yeah.
it puts into words what I was getting a feeling of.
Yeah.
And just, yeah, it's like then hearing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So I think we can call it a day here. It would be nice if one of you can just go through the prayer once, and then we can close the session. Yeah. Anyone who wants to read the prayer out loud?
I could do it.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Peace, peace upon all the earth. May all escape from the ordinary consciousness and be delivered from the attachment for material things. May they awake to the knowledge of thy divine presence, unite themselves with thy supreme consciousness, and taste the plenitude of peace that springs from it. Lord, thou art the sovereign master of our being. Thy law is our law, and with all our strength we aspire to identify our consciousness with thy eternal consciousness, that we may accomplish thy sublime work in each thing and at every moment. Lord, deliver us from all care for contingencies. Deliver us from the ordinary outlook on things. Grant that we may henceforth see only with thy eyes and act only by thy will. Transform us into living torches of thy divine love. With reverence, with devotion, in a joyful consecration of my whole being, I give myself, O Lord, to the fulfilment of thy law. Peace, peace upon all the earth.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Monica. It's
Thank you.
beautiful.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank
Take
you.
All,
care.
yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.